Hello and welcome back to my channel. Yes, I'm a little bit earlier. I actually have to start work tonight as a car goes zooming past my house. So I've got to start work earlier tonight. So I've got to come on a little bit earlier. Wow. They say about rats jumping a sinking ship. I've counted 9. I went through and I listed all the government members, all the current government ministers that are leaving Parliament, and I've got a senator as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 current sitting members at the moment in the government are leaving, and the Senate president, he's left already. And that includes Christian Porter has just announced today that he will be quitting politics, as will Greg Hunt. Now, what's really, really interesting, and I came up with this little bit of information, that Sue Chrysanthou, who is Braz's lawyer, has lost Braz. He's quit politics. Porter has quit politics as well. All the politicians she is representing are actually leaving politics. Is that interesting? And I'm sure she's involved with Lamin somehow, but because she works with the law firm, but wouldn't surprise me. So we've got the rats jumping a sinking ship. We've got Katie Joy. She's trying to roll up some stuff today. She has had goes at pops at Emily D. Baker. She's made comments on the Nat thing. And, of course, Anna Duggar. She's criticised Anna Duggar for what she's wearing. She's criticised her for being beside Josh. I'm sure that if Anna Duggar had not turned up at court, she would have a go at her about that as well. So, yes, regardless of what you think of them, she's just had a baby. Come on. Anyway, we'll go through all of that. So we've got quite a bit to get through tonight. But yes, Katie Joy, in my opinion, is asking for trouble. Plus, she's deleted a whole pile of stuff. So when we look at her Instagram, we're going to see that the comments don't make sense because there's stuff that's been deleted, of course. So let's get started. So thank you. Hello, Bruce COVID-Poo. How are you? Let's start off with Christian Porter. I'll go through the ministers that I have got that I know that are leaving Parliament. I have to say I'm not very disappointed that the guy is leaving politics. Christian Porter quits politics, ending career of a Liberal once touted as a future PM. As Greg Hunt also plans exit. Greg Hunt is currently the Health Minister. Christian Porter was the Attorney General. However, there was some allegations made about a government minister from 20 odd years ago with an alleged and he came out and said it was him. Hello, the Fox. So, if I was somebody that would drink, today would be the day to get out the champers, and have a bit of a celebration because he's leaving. So 2 of the nation's most high-profile federal politicians will call it quits at the next election, with Health Minister Greg Hunt set to join former Attorney General Christian Porter announcing his retirement. Mr. Porter, who moved to the backbench in September, announced his resignation on Facebook on Wednesday, saying he was quitting to spend more time with his family. What's really interesting, though, the government has had a big thing about Facebook and not trusting Facebook, and yet he made his announcement on Facebook. It was really quite interesting. Hello, Angela. Good riddance, Rufus. Yes, that was my thought. My thought was, don't let the door hit you on the way out, hey? The ABC has also confirmed Mr. Hunt will on Thursday announce his plan to retire at the next election. I think he did it today. Did you do it today? I heard something today. Speculation had been mounting in recent months about Mr. Hunt's political future, but he's repeatedly said he would contest the next election. Mr. Porter had been expected to quit politics after a year in which he fell from one of the highest positions of power to the backbench. Oh. After a lot of time giving everything I could to the people of Pierce, it's now time to give more of what's left to those around me whose love has been unconditional, Mr. Porter wrote. Now, what's interesting is that, because he's had a marriage breakup, his ex-wife, and his children live in Perth, but it's purported that he's moving to Sydney, because that's where his girlfriend lives, and so he's not spending time with his family. Just saying. I mean, anyway. There are few, if any, constants in modern politics. Perhaps the only certainty now is that there appears to be no limit to what some will say or allege or do to gain an advantage over a perceived enemy. This makes the harshest that can accompany the privilege of representing people harder than before. But even though I have experienced the harshness of modern politics and most, there are no regrets. What do you mean, mate? You had allegations that you actually folded and took out he actually settled rather than have it all come out in court. That's not, that's not, he didn't want the truth to come out. Geordie's interview with Spanish was it? I'll have to watch that. Porter was elected as the member of Pierce in Perth North in 2013 and quickly rose through the ranks to become the Attorney General under former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull and then Scott Morrison. He was openly mentioned in conversations in the corridors of Parliament as a potential future Prime Minister, but he was embroiled in controversy earlier this year after ABC reported an unnamed cabinet minister had been accused of a woman in 1988 in a letter sent to Mr. Morrison. Mr. Porter identified himself as the unnamed cabinet minister and strenuously denied the allegations in a tearful press conference. He then stepped aside while he pursues defamation action against the ABC, which he discontinued. He didn't win. He has worked so hard to keep all of that information secret. He faced pressure to quit his cabinet position while the lawsuit was ongoing, but refused to do so. Arguing Mr. Porter couldn't be the Attorney General at the same time as he was in the court suing the ABC, Mr. Morrison appointed him as Industry and Science Minister and Technology in a reshuffle in March. But in September, he was under pressure to quit. Porter doing what he can for the community in WA by moving away, says Fox. Yeah, but unless his children and his ex-wife are moving to Sydney, he's not spending time with his family. But in September, Mr. Porter was again under pressure after he declared he'd accepted funds from anonymous donors to cover some of the legal fees in its defamation action against the ABC. The declaration sparked inquiry into the broader rules around donations. After Mr. Morrison said his minister had been unable to conclusively rule out perceived conflict of interest, he quit the front bench, saying he would not pressure the donors to reveal their identity. Rufus says, so he dobbed himself in, then said it wasn't true. That's correct, Rufus. At the time, Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce said Mr. Porter had a bad day at the wicket, but he was a capable politician who someday should be allowed another chance in a senior role. Because, like, we all know that in the LNP, in the government, you do something naughty, you have to spend some time in the corner and then you come back. Mr. Porter has vowed to fight. He had vowed to fight on and contest the next election, and he'd been already pre-selected. But today confirmed his political career was over, and he would not seek to return to Parliament. He was the WA State Treasurer before entering federal politics in 2013. I never liked him when he was the Treasurer. I couldn't stand him then. As a federal minister, he served as Social Services Minister, Industrial Relations Minister, and the Leader of the House. He was a senior prosecutor and university law lecturer before entering politics. Now, there is talk, because his girlfriend's a criminal lawyer, there is talk he's going back into law. But I just find it really interesting that he's quitting politics, and he just had a loss. He had a loss again in court yesterday with over, Sue Chrysanthou representing him as a conflict of interest. And Braz, he has quit politics, and Sue Chrysanthou represents him. There seems to be a common denominator. I'm not reading anything in it. I'm just indicating. I'm just putting the pieces there. It's very strange that two of probably her highest paying clients have now quit politics. How are they going to pay their bills? He still owes. He had to pay $500,000 in costs. So I did a list. So here are the government ministers that I have worked out have stated retire that are not returning. So there's 8 that I've worked out: Kevin Andrews, George Christensen, Andrew Laming, Greg Hunt, Christian Porter, Tony Smith. He was the Speaker of the House. They replaced the Speaker of the House. Nicole Flint and Scott Ryan, the President of the Senate. He is also gone. So they've just had to replace the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the lower house. That's 8. 8. I made a list. Making a list and checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty and nice. These people aren't contesting the election. I've lost the plot, eh? So, that's also a very good point, the Fox. Andrew Laming's had legal issues, yes. I don't know about Tony Smith. I have to say, I really liked him. He actually had a really good sense of humour. He had some great one-liners, on both sides. They reckon he was one of the most fairer speakers that had been. The new Speaker of the House, I believe, has been likened to Bronwyn. So not good. So anyway. So Scott Ryan's also left. And the new... I know, hey? That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping too. Can't believe it's nearly Christmas. Yes, I've got work an hour. I mean, it's funny. Work has just gone crazy. We were finishing early, and now, yes, they've said, can you come in an hour early because we need to start getting it done. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I saw yesterday at work all the air purifiers that the government has been waiting for to go into the schools had arrived. There's 3 weeks left for school, and they're going to be put into the schools right at the end of the year. Nice timing, hey? Now, I wanted to share something from the Chief Health Officer Victoria about Omricon, the new variant, because there's so much, and so I always listen to. I'm one to listen to health advice, and this is the Chief Health Officer Victoria, and this is what he's going to say. Oh, you're going to FJ's show tomorrow? Cool. Yes, I've seen T-shirts for Buffhead. And I've seen the bag for Buffhead. It's great, isn't it? I reckon the election campaign in the seat of Dixon, I reckon they should just hand out the Buffhead shirts. Could you imagine everyone turning up to vote at the election with Buffhead shirts? Omricon, what's known and not yet known yet. There's been a lot said about this, but the thing is really to emphasise that we are still in the very early days of understanding this variant of concern, as WHO has designated it. It seems to be outcompeting the Delta variant in Southern Africa. This may be due to higher effectiveness in transmission, immune escape, or perhaps most likely a bit of both. In any case, that's a strong reason to watch it closely and urgently understand more. It's clearly been seen in both double vaccinated individuals and in those with previous infection, but we don't know if it's more likely yet with Omicron with the other variants. With so many mutations of the spike protein, immune escape is possible. Current vaccines are still likely to provide protection, but this is the biggest question to resolve. Likely more known in the coming weeks. Is it more severe? Again, a lot said, but no real indications at all at this stage. We shouldn't assume it's very mild or more severe. What we do know is that getting vaccinated is as important as ever, and getting a booster is urgent. Don't delay if you're already due, and importantly, there are many other things to do right now to reduce your risk for this or any other variant. Wear a mask in public outdoor spaces or anywhere you can't physically distance. Ensure it fits well. Live an outdoors life where you can, for coffee or chat or whatever. Ventilate indoor spaces by opening doors and windows. Test with any symptoms. We have great vaccine coverage here in Victoria. That's where I live. We're heading into summer. We've created safer spaces to meet. mRNA vaccine manufacturing capacity is afoot. Antivirals against COVID are here and will soon roll out. So many things in our favour, our concern for each other most of all. So that has come from the Chief Health Officer of Victoria. So he generally is the person that I generally will listen to for my advice. I'm due for mine. I'm due for my booster tomorrow. I'm due for my booster this month at Christmas Day, the 25th of December. So I probably will get it. But I think that is really well succinct what he's just said. We don't know. There's lots we don't know. And we've got to just, I was watching an epidemiologist the other day saying we have to expect the best, but prepare for the worst. We've got to prepare as if it's going to be worse than Delta, but we've got to expect that it's not going to be. So, yeah. So anyway, that was that. That's about all I'm going to say on that. Oh, I just love, though, about, the Guardian's just released an article. Christian Porter bemoans the harshness of politics. Oh, everyone got their little violin. So we've got the violins as part of my, we've got violins. See, and now bemoans the harshness of politics. Oh, poor little Christian Porter. Oh, how's he going to pay? How's he going to pay for his legal stuff now? How's he going to find another? Now, it's interesting, though, because remember, the Labor referred Porter to the Privileges Committee and moved defeat by the government, but the committee continued to consider a separate complaint from the shadow Attorney General. They concluded he did not breach disclosure rules, but called for an overhaul to protect integrity. But his Liberal safe seat of Pearce could prove difficult to hold for the Morrison government, given its margin has been slashed to 5.2% by redistribution, and the Labor brand is riding high in Western Australia due to the popularity of the Mark McGowan state government. There are lots of very worrying signs. And don't forget, I'm going to make a really big statement here as well. That I would say the Liberal government, in the federal Liberal government, would also struggle in Victoria, because we've got a few tools here. I mean, Frydenberg, his seat's going to be in jeopardy, because we all remember how he treated his own state during the pandemic. So there's a few places that the federal government should be really concerned about with the election so close, because there's going to be trouble. And this is the interesting thing as well. So we talked about the dog noises, right, that occurred in Parliament yesterday, which is absolutely despicable and disgusting. All right. He's disappointed Disappointed. Where is his condemnation for the actions? Why hasn't he pulled this guy into his office and tore shreds off him? Why hasn't he disciplined this guy? Scott Morrison disappointed by David Van's interjections after claims he made dog noises at Jackie Lambie. Scott Morrison says he's very disappointed by Liberal Senator David Van's interjections while Jackie Lambie was speaking in the Senate, but has taken aim at Labor for conduct in the lower house. On Tuesday, Senator Sarah Hanson-Young and Penny Wong said they had heard growling and dog noises directed at Lambie during Senate question time. Hanson-Young said the interjections were inappropriate and noted that the growling while a female senator was speaking on the same day that the sex discrimination Kate Jenkins released a landmark report calling for an overhaul of its toxic workplace culture showed the difficulty of achieving change. He apologised. Van has since apologised and owned up to making verbal interjections, but denies that he made animal noises. On Wednesday, Morrison told reporters in Queanbeyan that all parliamentary leaders continue to have to uphold standards, and I expect that of my team, and I was very disappointed about that act. Asked if he insisted all MPs and senators read the Jenkins report, Morrison said that was exactly the instruction he had given. I would expect all parliamentary leaders to be seeking to uphold. He also blamed Labor for poor standards. In Tuesday's question time, Anthony Albanese called the Leader of the House, Peter Dutton, a buffhead for seeking the call while the Leader was making a point of order. Morrison said he'd been in Parliament a long time. Just last week, the interjections that I heard coming across the chamber, he said in response to Van, how do you reckon ScoMo would have handled Keating? On Tuesday, the Senate President, Slade Brockman, he's the new president, said he did not hear the interjection, but asked senators to reflect and withdraw if they do what was stated. On Tuesday afternoon, Van told the Senate he'd reflected on his behaviour and acknowledged that the interjections are always inappropriate. No, Dan Tehan. I think he's talking about Dan Tehan. And while I do not accept the characterisation of my interjections in the manner the points of order were raised by other senators, I do regret the interjections and I apologise to Senator Lambie and the senator. I commit to holding myself to a higher standard in the future. Labor MP Graham Perrott noted that Van had told news.com.au that he had interjection which may have been misheard as a dog noise because he was wearing a mask. How curious, Graham. I did not make a noise. I spoke when making an interjection, and I certainly did not make any kind of animal noise at all. Are you alleging otherwise? At least I won't need our excellent new anti-troll laws to unmask you. The Shadow Women's Minister Tamara Pilasek queried what happened to a common bit of decency. She told Guardian that people need to treat others with respect. I think that'd go a long way. On Wednesday, the Financial Service Minister, Liberal Senator Jane Hume, said that Van had been suitably chastised and had apologised, although he denied making dog noises. I personally didn't hear the noises that Senator Van made, but you're right. We should be setting the standards. Now, question time is always robust. The chamber is very noisy, and there's lots of accusations. With that, I'd like to see particularly my party take the high ground on this, and if we have something to say, we'll find our voice. I think let's have a look at this.
Why aren't you paying for the social housing we know that we need? Order.
Well, let's go back. Let's have a listen to this.
The social housing we know that we need. Order.
I don't think it's appropriate, given what has been handed down today, to have growling and dog noises
coming from this side of the chamber while a female member in this place is on her feet. It happened. I don't know who is responsible for it, but it is inappropriate. And if we are going to change culture from the top, that means all of us.
Senator Hanson-Young, Senator Wong?
Well, I did, because I in fact said who's growling. And I would ask one of the senators at that end, perhaps to do the right thing, and withdraw. At least fess up. Gee, you're tough, aren't you? You have to take responsibility. I mean, really. Growling, Mr. President.
Senator Wong, I certainly did not hear anything. Senator Wong, I'm not challenging what you heard. I certainly did not hear. I cannot ask someone to withdraw something I did not.
Just on a side note, what's the bottle sitting there on his desk? Look.
I'm still hearing. You sit down, You sit down. I've got the call. Sit down.
Leader of the opposition who sits there sledging constantly all question time, somehow all of a sudden be all virtuous. Now, if he's got a glass jaw, he's got a glass jaw. The whole debate in this place back and forth is about a contest of ideas, and you sit there weak as water all day.
One of the issues that the Jenkins report deals with is respect. And I'm not quite sure whoever found that so funny laughed out loud then, but I would call upon members of the House to, as I said in my first speech as Speaker, I don't expect this place to be a monastical library, but the Australian public does not want to see this place descend into a political coliseum. There will be a lot of discussion over the next days and weeks over respect in this place. And I would ask all members, to show that level of respect in this chamber as well. And I'll give the call to the Treasurer.
So there you go. That's what's happened. So is making growling noises the same as calling someone a buffet? That's my first question. That is my first question. What do you think about that? Is there a comparison between the two? And yeah, I mean, I don't think it's right myself. Buffet was cool. I know. I think a lot of people love the buffet comment. I think the only one that would have been better if he'd called him Mr. Potato Head. If he'd called him Mr. Potato Head, I think everybody would have roared. But there's lots of stuff going around. But we looked at no, that's right. We looked at buffet yesterday, and yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Brittany Higgins was, hello, Dom, how are you? I'm just on a bit earlier. My time's going to be all over the place at the moment. It depends on when I have to start work, so, and I'm not sleeping very well. Oh, today is the first day of summer in Australia, by the way, 1st of December, so, and it was really hot today, so I've already struggled. I know, just Dom. Did you see? Has anyone seen Nat's new videos? She went berserk. Somebody's just done a list, and it's got a bigger list than me. Come up with some more names. Christian Porter, Greg Hunt, Kevin Andrews, Nicole Fleet, John Alexander. I forgot about John Alexander. He's leaving. I forgot about John Alexander. Scott Ryan, he left October 21. Steve Irons, Ken O'Dowd. Oh, I forgot about John Alexander. He's not coming back. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 10. That's 10 now. Yeah, we're getting a big list now of people that are left, that are leaving Parliament. You don't watch that side of YouTube anymore? Yeah. It's a bit like that. I somehow got pulled into a Twitter argument because I spoke about Nat last night, because apparently I supported her. I thought that I was just showing that somebody that couldn't work a microwave seemed to be able to talk about spoofing. Anyway, she's come out and blamed Katie Joy today and told her to bring it on. It was really interesting. Well, you know what they say about rats leaving a sinking ship at the Fox? And to be honest with you, just on that's why I don't talk about lots of this stuff, because I just can't be bothered, you know. Well, they have changed the rules, because they changed the rules. They don't all get cold pensions anymore. There was a big kerfuffle. I don't think they don't get the gold card for travel anymore, which is really interesting, unless it's about to come in, and this is the last lot. They have changed that rules, I believe. So anyway. Hi, Spanky. How are you going? Did anyone tell? I don't know. I just find it very interesting, that we've got all these politicians leaving. And, well, I think they also know that I'm wondering whether they know that they're going to have a big defeat in parts, because there's, for example, as I said, Porter's seat in WA was a safe Liberal seat, but there's no guarantee he would win. And why not go out while you're in a winning seat rather than waiting till you lose your seat, hey? And if that actually changes hands, that's a safe Liberal seat. And don't forget, the Liberals were decimated were decimated in the last state election. I hope everyone from overseas doesn't find Australian politics boring, because, I'm trying to, give us all this different stuff. But at the moment, we've just got amazing, we've just got so much stuff happening in federal politics at the moment here. I know, I saw that, Peter. I saw that tag. I'm sorry, I did mean to get you in there. I just read, you love government politics. So for those of you that don't know, where Peter lives, they had 3 people escape from quarantine. And Peter had mentioned that the boundary backed onto her son's school. And I just thought, oh, what on earth is happening in Darwin? Everyone's escaping. It was sort of said with a bit of a jest. And I saw that. That just appeared in my notifications, and I don't know why. So let me show you this. This is how this happened. So it says police are searching for 3 people who escaped the Howard Springs quarantine facility in Darwin this morning. I might add, this is the only federal government run quarantine facility in the nation at the moment. And I tagged and I said, what's happening? She said, COVID escapees. Hope they didn't jump the back fence of the quarantine, because they will be in my son's school. Will you be putting your son in a prison if he catches COVID? What does that mean? Yeah. It's funny how the government's really been critical about the state-run hotel quarantine and the escapes and everything, and now it's in the federal stuff, and it's really silent. But anyway. Yeah, I don't know, but I do know that, as I said, I somebody just put here, this is what I said. This is exactly what I said, but I've only just seen this comment. It says, Porter says he's quitting to spend time with his family. Isn't the new squeeze in New South Wales? Yes, and it's supposed to be. And he's supposed to be going to work in Sydney, is what I read. So, too much for people to watch. I don't watch. So this was so Christian Porter announced on Facebook that he was leaving federal politics. I hope we find out who the blind. Does that mean he has to reveal? We can find out who the blind trust was now. Anyway, let's go on to our other topic. Now, this may be triggering. As I said, I've got a few bones to pick with Katie Joy over her Duggar coverage, and I'm not very happy with it. Yeah, well, look. Oh, yeah. I'd actually love to go up against Frydenberg in this seat. Anyway. So, she tagged this, the women who will end Josh Duggar. So, Josh Duggar's trial has started. Today in court, the judge said both Jill Duggar and Bobby Holt are on the list of potential witnesses. Jim Holt, Jim Bob's former best friend, is also listed as a witness. She says Jim Bob Duggar got booted from the witness list after he feigned amnesia, and the feds called his testimony selfish and self-serving and garbled. It is my belief that the judge will allow Josh's past history with SA and Bobby Holt to testify. There is no proof that Bobby was a clergy and clergy are mandated reporters regardless. That makes no sense. I'm also assuming Jill Duggar will replace Jim Bob because we know that Jill will tell the truth. This is where it gets really interesting because we get down here, and as I said, there are deleted tweets. And I'm not going to talk about Jill or anything, but we get down here. Emily, Chief Justice here in WA was charged yesterday. Trial put off. Wow, really? I'll have to look into that. So someone says, don't believe her. All KJ does is lie. Do your own research on Emily. She just reads the facts, something KJ knows nothing about. So now we're getting on to stuff about Emily D. Baker, who we know KJ doesn't like. She's been licensed in California since 2005. Emily has an active license in California, has an excellent rep among her peers. This has nothing to do with the case. If she's not licensed, she shouldn't be calling herself a lawyer, says somebody. I don't get it. Without a crystal ball says she isn't super professional, talking about Emily D. Baker. Well, I'm glad you pointed this out to me. I feel if a person is going to be able to do that to someone, then that's not someone people should take legal commentary on. Like real lawyers don't do that. Then she says, OMG, don't know how you can afford it. So there's lots of posts missing. So we know what happens when there's deleted posts. I don't know how you afford it. Cost me over $3,000 for an attorney just to get my ex to help support my son who's on the autism spectrum. After he turned 19, I had to finally drop the case because of all the lies my ex told. And They were dragging it out. I couldn't afford to fight anymore. I don't have faith in either lawyers or the justice system. Without a crystal ball, says she might cover that case better. With my case, she joined a bunch of trolls who enjoyed slandering me. She pandered to them and sucked the butt off the bigger creator's lawyer for clout. Convincing people I was going to jail was the worst. I mean, my lawyer reached out to try and chill her out, and she literally ignored him. And then she says, yeah, that's unfair and no matter your political beliefs. I think anyone should agree that slandering is not okay, especially if not willing to back it up by speaking to said person or lawyer. I only ask because I'm a Bravo girl and she speaks a lot about Erica Jane. And I've never listened to anything else she's commented on, so now I will see if she's as credible as I thought. So when these idiots sue you and lose, are they made to pay your legal fees? I know in some states they are. She goes, I bring up the Republican because she pretends that she's woke. I'm a Democrat, and I don't give an S what your politics are. I don't pretend to be what I'm not. I don't care who watches her. I just think she's awful and literally wouldn't even speak to my lawyer and slandered him. He won the case. Hang on a minute. I thought she settled. Settled doesn't mean that you won. OMG, just someone acting that way you can tell isn't legally savvy. I'm sorry. I'll definitely be cautious if podcasts have her on. But by the way, I'm Republican too, but I still want to follow because I 100% agree on everything you've reported about the Duggars. All right. Then she goes, I was sued. So this is KJ. I was sued months ago by a YouTuber. Emily was so vicious to me. Literally, she convinced people I was lying, convinced people the other side had a case, said I was destroying evidence and perjuring myself. She flouted me going to jail. She sucked the butt of the opposing counsel who fed her info. She destroyed my reputation, blocked me, wouldn't speak to my attorney, and I won the lawsuit. She's foul-mouthed. Mean, racist, watch her Instagram about Breonna Taylor. A Republican that is all about Blue Lives Matter. Not licensed where she lived. Shouldn't give legal advice, but does. And clout chaser. And then someone says, and cowardly should be added to that list. Oh. Tell me more. I listened to her on other pods about Erica Jane, but I can't trust her. I want to know. And then she says, she's an idiot. She's not a good lawyer. She's not licensed. And she literally said I was going to jail and convinced people I was. And then someone says, Emily, I find her reporting as a lawyer amazing, plus your reporting too. I like great content for both of you. And she goes, Emily Baker is an idiot. And so she said, on Emily D. Baker's YouTube channel, she's a lawyer. She goes, over the case, she showed how in Arkansas the mandated reporting is not law there if the perpetrator confessed. Totally insane. It says, don't believe her. All KJ does is lie. Do your own research on Emily. This is her third or fourth time being sued. Maybe Katie is the problem. It's not rocket science. The biggest reason I like to follow your account is because you're so woke. Thank you so much for all the things you share and for standing up against racism and injustice. Oh dear. But I think plan to create is correct. Jealous much? Because, wow. And she's very triggered. Someone mentions Emily's name. That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? So there is all of that conversation. She also has a go at Josh because apparently she says Jim Bob can't even spring for a new suit for Josh. He's worn the same suit multiple times. I guess all their money is tied up in planes. Does it matter that he wears the same suit? And then someone says here the suits are not appropriate for court. They look like they're celebrating a wedding or some other kind of... Well, McGowan's getting served very soon. All right, I'm going to have to look into that. So, yes, so now she's saying that about his suit. Does she realise that if he goes to jail, he'll be wearing the same suit every day? Like the same clothes every day? Then she's had to go at Anna. Anna is showing her knees. She was wearing high heels and looked like she's going out versus to court. She's also clutching Josh like she's going to fall down. Why is he doing this to her? Let her go, Josh. Leave him, Anna. Look, I don't know. She hasn't said what is appropriate attire. However, didn't somebody wear... Yes, that's right. The Today Show host in Australia wore the same suit every day for a year, and nobody said he did it to show a point. But see, someone also criticises Anna for being away from her kids. But if Anna didn't go to court, they would be criticising her for not being there. So, and don't forget, Anna's just given birth. So her emotions and her hormones will be all over the place. Whether you've had 7 kids, 2 kids. Do you remember what it was like when you had a newborn? You know, what, and they're going, why is she wearing that? Maybe that is like, if I had to go to court, I've only got one. I don't generally wear dresses, but I've only got... You're right, plan to create. It wouldn't matter what she wore. I've only got one type of dress, and that's what I would wear to court if I had to go to court. Right, and someone's saying the 3 gold zippers on their chest. What we do? So, as I said, I just don't understand. I think Anna, whatever Anna does, she'll get criticised. So let's have a look. Did you say the Solicitor General in WA? And I thought she was an advocate for women, and I thought she didn't like people talking about women's appearance and stuff like that. And that she's just talked about what Anna was wearing. I'm sorry. And maybe, just maybe, she had nothing else that fitted her. So anyway, I found an article here that I would too plan to create. I've got an article here about son of WA's Attorney General John Quigleys sues health department over PPE deal. I found that. Interesting. The Attorney General's son is suing the government. Let's have a look. We'll have a look at this because this is dated the 18th of November. So this was a couple of weeks ago. But look, if it's, I think whoever said it, I think having SALT issue a cease and desist would be amazing. So, son of WA Attorney General John Quigleys sues health department over PPE deal. So, the son of WA's Attorney General is suing the state and CEO of WA Health Department over a deal to supply health workers with PPE. A has been filed by Jack Quigleys' company Big Start for breach of contract, negligent misrepresentation, and deceptive conduct between March and August last year. 7 years understands the lawsuit is worth tens of millions of dollars for the acquisition of PPE from China to be used in WA in response to the COVID pandemic. It comes after Jack Quigleys, son of WA Attorney General John Quigleys, said he'd be forced to close his Collie manufacturing plant in February after an offer to supply PPE PPE was rejected by the McGowan government. A government spokesperson at the time said the Attorney General did not have any involvement in the proposal and confirmed that Big Start did not receive or apply for any grant funding. So that's interesting. I would assume that there would have been a conflict of interest for that decision if he had said it. Now, he was a lawyer, I think, John Quigleys. He was a big when I was living in WA, he was one of the top lawyers in the state many years ago. So that's right. So just reading here that Queensland's Gold Coast is on high alert because a positive case had been there. So it's really getting to be really quite scary. It looks like that it looks like we're going to have another outbreak. The other thing is that the new Northern Territory Chief Minister said his son has been targeted with death threats from anti-vaxxers. And again, I will say it again. Just because the person's father, whatever a parent does, you may not like what the parent does, but unless the children are involved in that same work, you leave them out. So, for example, you may not like the decisions that a leader makes. So, Northern Territory Chief Minister Michael Gunner reveals anti-vaxxer death threats against family as police investigate. That's 3 state leaders that have had death threats. Mark McGowan had to move, was considering his moving from WA, had to consider moving his family out at one point due to death threats. Daniel Andrews' family was living in, I believe they had moved somewhere under police custody due to death threats. Now we've got the Northern Territory Chief Minister's family receiving death threats. I think it's disgusting. You may not like the decisions the parents make, but leave the kids out of it. Leave the family members out of it. So it says Northern Territory Chief Minister Michael Gunner has brought back tears while revealing his young child has been the subject of a death threat from anti-vaxxers. I I don't know. Hey, the Fox. This might be a good use for the fixated persons unit. During a COVID-19 press conference in Darwin, Mr. Gunner was asked whether he knew of any death threats against politicians following this week's closure of the Northern Territory's Parliament public galleries due to security threats. I have received death threats on a number of occasions, Mr. Gunner said. Not just me, my family. I've been told my kid will be put into a grave. Mr. Gunner appeared visibly shaken for about 15 seconds before he composed himself. We have a job and we'll do our job. Northern Territory Police Commissioner James Chalker said the threats against Mr. Gunner and his family, as well as other politicians, were taken very seriously. There are multiple investigations were undertaken and will continue to do so. Once we make a criminal benchmark, you can be reassured that we will take action. Commissioner Chalker said the investigations were complex because some of the threats were being made by people interstate and overseas. But I'll call it for what it is, complete utter cowardice. That's how the Territory community should be treating this nonsense. He wouldn't go into details, but the Gunner government's decision to issue a vaccination mandate for most workers in Northern Territory sparked anger in some sections of the community. Now, I understand why Northern Territory would do it, because they have the most vulnerable community. Same with the upper part of Northern Territory. We know that there's already been some COVID cases in remote communities in Northern Territory, and they've had to desperately try and get people in there to get vaccinations in there. So the mandate has led to a sacking. The mandate has led to a sacking of almost 400 public servants who refused to get a jab, while the impact on private sector employment. It's also prompted weekly protests, so including one in which the last post was played at the Darwin Cenotaph. Mr. Gunner said he supported people's right to demonstrate, but said it was inappropriate to conflate the sacrifices of soldiers with issues raised by people opposed to vaccination mandates. The protesters' actions last weekend were also condemned by local veteran Sam Weston. So Mr. Gunner said he would emphasise we are dealing with people who unfortunately gone down the rabbit hole. The delusion that they're buying is extraordinary. But as I said, I don't care what you think of the leaders. Leave the kids out of it. So let's watch this.
Yeah, I have on a number of occasions, not just me and my family. I've been told my kid will be put in the grave. Like, we have a job, and we'll do our job. And I thank police and others for the work that they're doing. And obviously, I think Matt's big decision was a very sensible one, and we'll keep doing whatever it takes to keep Territory safe.
So there you go. As I said, it's when you start taking it out on children, it's no different to the stuff with Katie Joy. You got to leave the son out of it. We can have concerns, but we don't go. That's going real life. We don't go real life. And I've been speaking out about going real life. I, like everybody, I will rant and rave, and I'll write emails, and I will make appointments to speak to politicians and whatever if I need to, but I won't ever, ever, ever go real life and speak to them. I mean, attack their children or anything like that. Never. So, yeah, going real life is wrong. And no child should be responsible for the job that their parents The incident with Andy Medic's daughter. Now, that's interesting because I've heard some conflicting stuff about that. I've heard that he posted a statement to say that she was attacked, but I've also read stuff about the fact that she attacked police first. So I don't know. But again, he believed it was an attack because of his stance in Parliament. But and if she attacked the police first, then she needs to be dealt with. But again, I don't know. I mean, I have to look at the South Australia. South Australian government's in a bit of problems too because there's been a motion of no confidence issued against the Attorney General of South Australia. She's had to step down. And apparently Christmas Day is not a public holiday in South Australia. You are not going to get public holiday rates in South Australia if you work. Apparently you're not going to get public holiday rates in South Australia for working Christmas Day. So anyway. There. So anyway. Anything else anybody wants to talk about? I've only been going for over an hour. I like to keep the streams about an hour-ish. And as I said, I've got to start early tonight. Someone has put together all the comments that KJ said about Emily D. Baker and has tagged Emily in them. So it'll be interesting to see what... I mean, Emily's probably just going to go yawl and, do an eye roll. But some of that stuff that she has said is not very nice. A clinical trial. It's a clinical trial, is it? The other thing is the federal government has just they've withdrawn their voter ID legislation. So she was spray painting when she was involved in an altercation with a man. She initially assaulted, had nothing to do with her father. Okay. But I went by his media release, his press statement, and that's what he said. As I said, I don't know. All I know, and again, at that stage, that was the information that was had. Which Cho just admitted it. Because I just saw... Victoria's encouraged everybody, has said that we don't know what's going on. And that we should try and get our boosters done. You got to jump back on Twitter, okay? What was your name again on Twitter? Hang on. Chief. So what's the 3-month lockdown in WA for? Don't get me started on the Feds. Scomos trying to bring us that's I think. Oh, okay. That is the Chief Health Officer. You're disappointed in the federal libs. Well, I'm glad we agree with something there, Anthony. I'm glad we agree with something there. But they've as I said, it looks like they're all jumping ship. The official Chief Health Officer WA. Oh no, the Health Minister. Right. So who is there? Who is the Chief? Okay. Well, I guess, to be honest, Robin, in some ways they are, because we still don't know about the mutations, but I don't know that you can really we just don't know. That's one reason why my son won't do it. That's one of his reasons he won't get vaccinated. But he's an adult and I can't make him. But that's one of his things. But I'd rather be safe than sorry, I have to say. Yeah. Yeah, just watch out, Nightbot's on the prowl. The other thing is that ScoMo has tabled a copy of the Commonwealth Integrity Commission Bill, but it's not introduced it. So, and then he blamed Labor because they only contributed 2 pages to it. That's why it's not ready to be debated on. Yeah, well, that's the thing. We don't question these. We don't question the other vaccines. We all get them. I mean, even the flu vax is a bit of a lottery because they have to try and anticipate. That's it. They've got to try and anticipate what variant is going to be out. But I'm not trying. but yet a lot of us get it, but that's not mandated. I can see why. But yeah, I just... got the Hep B. Well, yeah, see, I got the Hep B. And the other thing is, when I went to go overseas, when I had to go overseas, I had to have all these vaccinations as well. Didn't question it. Why? Because my doctor had said that it would protect me and keep me safe. So, some I hadn't heard before. At the end of the day, you have to trust your medical professionals. And if my doctor says, I think you should get it, then of course I'm going to get it. Well, and that's the other thing. It was tested extensively, yeah. Well, that I was watching something the other night, and Pfizer said it will take 100 days for them to have something that will be able to deal with the new variant. 100 days. So let's just say if they discover that the vaccines that we've got aren't going to protect us, it's going to be 100 days before anything produced. But as I was watching the epidemiologist who said we should be planning for the worst and expecting expect the best, but plan for the worst, because we need to plan as if we need to be planning now for if the vaccines are inefficient, but we've got to hope that they are. And that's why the Victorian Chief Health Officer has said masks if you can't socially distance. All right. Look, I'm going to head off now. So if you need to send me stuff, and I'll prepare it for the stream, but because I've got to get ready to go to work. So thank you for joining me. As I said, it's been all over the place tonight. I don't generally wake up till about, although I'm not sleeping very well, so I'm only getting about 4 or 5 hours sleep, and then I'm sleeping in the afternoon. So I'm not getting a lot of time to prepare and stuff, so I'm not as well prepared as I used to be. I'm getting there. We'll see how we go, but I really wanted to, yes, I think that is correct. And that's the issue. This is my rant, the Fox, with particularly the feds with this issue, is that for them, they sort of said, well, get vaccinated and everything will be good. That everything will be good. Well, everything's not good. The global pandemic. Hang on a minute. What do you need me to hang on for, Anthony? Former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill has tested positive for COVID-19. Sorry, that just come up in my announcements. So that's another test. That's another positive test in South Australia. Be interesting. I'll just show it to you. It's come up as breaking news. Former South Australian Premier Jay Weatherill has tested positive for COVID-19. It's not going to go away. This is not going to go away. No, South Australia's had a positive case. I think they had one, or they've had one or two. Queensland had a couple. New South Wales has had a few. And New South Wales has had 6 of the. They've had 6 of the new variant. Northern Territory's had 1. And so, apparently 2 hours ago, the headline said, because South Australia's just reopened their borders too, by the way. And this is why WA aren't opening theirs, let's face it. Records 3 new cases of COVID-19, including 2 cases of local transmission. So there's 13 cases since since South Australia opened its borders to New South Wales, Victoria and ACT. So there was a school reunion at Theatre Bugs in Norwood. In attendance was former SA Premier Jay Weatherill, but he's now since tested positive. We know that. So this was so he's now tested positive. So he's now at number 4. Of course. The thing is, unfortunately, the vaccines have become a moneymaker. And as far as I'm concerned, money and politics should not be involved in anything to do with this pandemic. The world should be working together to deal with it rather than trying to make money from it. I agree. Oh, of course, we should expect to have positive cases, but it'll be very interesting to see what's going to happen. I think Victoria, we hit we had over 1,000 again. But my concern is, for example, the federal government has now taken away the COVID funding for people that can't work. Because as soon as we hit 80% vaccination rate, the money disappeared. But COVID just doesn't disappear because we've hit the vaccination rate. That's my point. It just doesn't disappear. It's going to be here for a while. And yes, we've got to live with it, but we need to have, things in place, supports in place for people who have to deal with it. That's my point. It'd be great if we could just tell it to nick off, but it's not going to. And as I said, you've just got to watch what's happening around the world to know that. So anyway, I have to love you all and leave you all. I'm needing to just prepare and get myself ready. As I said, work's getting very. Yes, we need to be getting everybody in the world vaccinated. It shouldn't be about money. We should all be working together. Yeah. I mean, it's nobody's fault if you've got to isolate because you've been if you've been somewhere that has had a positive case, that's not your fault. So you should be able to have that support in place if you're not able to work. And the people it really affects really are the casual workers. Ooh. And my nephew's had another positive case at his school. He's had 3 in 10 weeks. 3, but because they changed the lockdown rules, he wasn't in the vicinity. No, we can't vaccinate. No, that's right. You can't vaccinate your way out of a pandemic. However, in my opinion, I feel, particularly in Australia, that has been what they've tried to do, vaccinate their way out of a pandemic. I got criticised the other day when I talked about the fact that they shouldn't be opening international borders on my Facebook page. I got absolutely slammed. And I got absolutely slammed for it. And what have we got? We got a new variant. I know I can look really stupid. And as I said to the person, I wrote to the person, I said, I know you think that I'm really stupid and that I'm somehow anti-government. However, I actually look at what's happening around the world and how other countries are dealing with it and what's happening, and that's what I base my decision on. And also I read a lot of medical journals and everything on it as well. So I said, I know that I look like a fool. I know I look stupid. But when I say things, there's generally a reason for it. I don't just say things for the sake of it. But anyway, that's me. So we should have closed into, well, I was very concerned when the US and the UK had closed their borders and we were still going. Did I go to university? I've just finished university, Anthony. I did a music degree. I've just finished the music degree. I'm waiting to get into law. So, yeah. But whether I went to university shouldn't have any impact on my intelligence or anything either. There's a lot of intelligent people that didn't go to university. So anyway, so thank you for joining me. I really have to go. I can't hang around any longer. I need to go. It's like you've just had an encore. I know I haven't been on. So if you can hit the like button and subscribe button and whatever you need to do. And I will catch you again hopefully tomorrow. All going well. Bye for now.